Have you ever wished that you could just do a full text search on everything going in and out of your app? So let's say that you're like in the middle of the night, you're on the DevOps team, the app is crashing, you have a particular email or some other piece of data that you want to see how it flows through the system, but you didn't plan for this. You don't have open telemetry. You don't have traces that are specific for this because you can't see the future. You can't annotate it with every little piece of data that you possibly need. You can't put everything in the logs, whatever. Well, it turns out that there's a new feature in Speedscale that allows you to run searches, full text searches, even including encoded data. So it will go through and it'll look through every piece of information going into your app and out of your app. And it will look for particular patterns. It'll decode JWTs. If it finds the text inside of the claims, it'll know that. It'll decode gRPC, do all this stuff. Kafka, Postgres, MySQL. It will turn all of these into JSONs that can be full text searched. So let me give you a quick demo of what I'm talking about. So the first thing we're going to need to do to do this magic is we're going to need to save a snapshot of traffic. So if you're not familiar with Speedscale, Speedscale records roughly the last 7 days of traffic and then allows you to make snapshots of that traffic for replication. Now, it looks like a monitoring tool. It is not a replacement for your observability tool, but it will complement it. So you'll see this looks a lot like Datadog or Grafana or one of these other tools. But I'm basically focusing in on the front end service here in the middle. And then here are all of the requests going into the front end service and out of the front end service. Now we're doing this by recording network traffic and decoding it to layer 7. You can learn more about that if you're interested in the product Speedscale. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save the last 15 minutes of front end traffic to what's called a snapshot. Now this usually takes about 30 seconds, so I'm going to skip ahead here. I just saved one a minute ago. What I'm going to get when I present it, or what I'm going to get when I save this, is I'm going to get all the inbound traffic listed as tests and all the outbound traffic as mocks. And I want to remind you that the outbound traffic can include binary protocols or whatever that Speedscale understands. So I'm going to go through and run an example here. Let's just say I want to do something basic, like I want to just filter. Okay, you could probably do this particular use case. You can do with your you can probably do with your observability tool, but it's a little bit fine-grained sort of search. But I'm going to look for something very specific. Let's look for, if I remember this correctly, payment. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go and I'll look at focusing on API payment. Okay, so we got a bunch of these requests in here. It's just, this is just a normal kind of demo app looking thing. I click in one here and I get to see all of the recorded payloads. So this is very different than an observability tool because you're recording everything, right? Not just telemetry or open telemetry or, everything that goes across the wire. So I see some interesting stuff here that I'm going to focus in on, which is I see in here, there's an email address. This is probably a good place to point out that Speedscale combs all of your data and looks for PII, and it filters it out for you if you ask it to. So one of the side effects of that is it identifies all kinds of data patterns so that you don't have to. So if you're curious, like, do I have PII in my data? Well, Speedscale will just tell you that, right? It'll also tell you things like, hey, I noticed an email address, or I noticed a latitude, longitude coordinates, whatever, all kinds of different data types. There's like 35 of them. But I'm going to focus in here on Mr. Gutierrez. So Mr. Gutierrez is unfortunate enough to still have an AOL account, so he's causing mayhem in our application. But I'm going to go and I'm just going to copy that. I just copied to my clipboard, and I'm going to go here and say, now search. So I'm going to search all of the traffic from the last 15 minutes on the front end that I just saved. You can see I actually did this demo a minute ago, so I have it. I have my search history here. I'm just going to search for Oliver Gutierrez, and I'm going to let that run for a second. Okay, very quickly, I have just combed potentially gigabytes and gigabytes of data, and I've got back a list of everywhere that Oliver Gutierrez occurs in the traffic. Okay, I'm gonna go through these and show you more detail. But as a rough idea, it's saying basically that this particular data token, it exists in the HTTP request in the headers in the username in the first position. It also appears inside a JWT, so you'd have to go and decode the base 64, and you'd have to understand how to decode the JWTs. We do all that for you. It actually is inside a claim name in the JWT. It's also in the body, the request body of HTTP, and under the username JSON token. So Speedscale flattens all this out so you can just have a JSON path to essentially anywhere inside of the data, including binary protocols, because they're turned into JSON. But let's keep things simple. Let's go see what Mr. Gutierrez has been up to. So I click on that particular RR pair, and it brings me to, oh look, he's been having a problem. Unable to read Gmail client. Huh, that's interesting. I can go and see, oh, there is Oliver's name. So basically, my DevOps problem became, instead of hunting through the systems, I'm hunting through the traffic, the data. I'm looking for the email address or the social security number or whatever. Well, hopefully not social security number, but you're looking for, some piece of data that will tell you where to go next. And remember, it works across services, all your entire landscape or ecosystem of production traffic. You can go across all these things and very quickly figure out where to find particular data points. So hopefully it was helpful. Check out speedscale.com if you're not already a user, and have a great night.